This video is going to be my second look or attempt to preview the Lions-Rams wildcard playoff game for Sunday night. One of the things that the Lions defense has been doing a lot more of recently is these creative blitzes, often layered blitzes, utilizing safeties, corners, DBs, Alex Anzalone at times as well, as a blitzer, in some cases a delayed blitzer on pass plays to get to the quarterback, because they had a period of time during the season where Detroit was really struggling to get pressure on the quarterback. You could even look at the number of sacks they generated in 2023, and a large percentage of them occurred in about half of their games. Now, Aiden Hutchinson has absolutely caught fire in the last 2 weeks in terms of sack output. We're absolving him for a moment of the ability to get pressure because he's shown over the course of his 2-year career. He's got 20 career sacks in 2 seasons in the NFL. One thing in particular that I think the Lions might do, they have been doing recently, is utilize those blitzes on rundowns as well to try to get the Rams in long yardage situations, 2nd and 8 or 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 12. There's a couple that I'm most interested in showing to you for that game that I'll try to cover in detail here in a bit. What the Rams do, and I kind of covered this already in a preview that I put out last night, or 2 nights ago, excuse me, was they get in compressed formations, and the wide receivers help out in the blocking scheme. Oftentimes that Jill ISO insert where they get up to the front side inside linebacker, or they get up to a nickel defender. The blocking scheme leaves the play side corner unblocked, which is not uncommon in the NFL or multiple levels of football, to block the strong safety or the nickel and leave the corner outside, particularly to the boundary, to have to step up and make the tackle. There is 2 blitzes that I expect to see Aaron Glenn utilize on early downs where corners are involved to kind of try to throw a glitch in the matrix, if you will, that is the Rams under center offense. Now, besides just using corners or perhaps nickel blitzes off the edge on rundowns, I'm really interested to see what Aaron Glenn and Detroit's coaching staff choose to do on 2nd and 8. If they can get the Rams in that position, first of all, and then 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6. What are the coverage calls and blitzes or stunts that they choose to deploy in those situations? Matt Stafford's got, great arm, obviously, quick release, and he's seen a lot at this point. I think the Rams' job, Aaron Glenn's job, is to put Matthew Stafford in more of those positions, as many of those 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5s as he can. Stafford's going to convert some of them because he's a high-level quarterback, and he's got great processing. He sees things and recognizes it quickly and gets rid of the ball. Aaron Glenn's job is to give him as many diverse looks as possible in those passing situations, but he won't even get the chance to do that if they don't stop or slow down the run first. And that's why the dynamic of this game, I think, is interesting. The Rams want to run the ball, control clock, shorten the game. The Lions want to do the same thing. If this is a 12 or 13 possession football game, it's probably bad news for the Lions, in my opinion. If it's a 9 or 10 possession football game each side, I think that's better suited for the Lions, because then they only need to get 3 or 4 organic stops, maybe 5 if you can, or 4 organic stops and 1 turnover. One of the things the Lions, using so many more blitzes with greater propensity lately, one of the things that's happened, one of the dynamics, is they've given up big plays at times. You think about the 92-yard touchdown catch by CeeDee Lamb on 3rd and long early in the game down there in Dallas against the Cowboys. I'm not going to show film of it. All my videos from the Cowboys-Lions game got copyright claimed, so any film that I show you here is not going to include anything from that game. Some of the situations where they've given up big pass plays have been an organic 4-man rush where there hasn't been pressure generated. But a lot of them, I think, have been generated against pressure looks where Aaron Glenn is, maybe it's Dan Campbell, maybe he's been instructed to do so, I'm not sure, has been utilizing safety blitzes. You can't go out there and run the same look, the same coverages all game against coaches as great as the Rams coach and players as great as they have. You're going to have to vary your looks and be multiple. I'm certainly not advocating for using blitzes all the time. I think it's got to be strategic. It's got to be timely usage that's at the appropriate moment. That's the best tactic as part of a comprehensive plan. But regardless, the Lions are going to blitz at times, and I think at times it's going to be on 1st down. And I'll show you the blitz here in the beginning that I think you'll see early in the game. Regardless of how those things turn out, you're still going to have to tackle well. defeat blocks, combo blocks in particular, and that's the one fear that I have as far as the Rams' offensive line. If the run game can get going, those combos are going to work on most of the Lions' defensive tackles, except for Aleem McNeil. And then you're going to have to cover well. And then get to the quarterback on pass plays if you can put Matt Stafford in that position. Let's take a look at, I think, one simple or direct way to try to interrupt the Rams' run game on early downs. But this isn't the type of thing you're going to be able to do 10 times a game. You're talking about at max 2 or 3. One thing I wanted to cover was the data that I presented in another, or referenced in another video. So I'm just giving you a little look at it here. This is only data showing shotgun formations against the Browns in Week 12. You're welcome to pause the video, count it up however you wish, but I will read out to you just the totals that I have for under center plays versus shotgun. And some of it is shocking. Even for me, someone who's watched all the film and organized it, you can see the play names there is custom created, meaning I type it in for each one. So I have a list of what possession it occurred on, and then I have a list of the down and the week, the formation, shotgun, under center, pistol, whatever, and then the play result over there to the right with hopefully the tackler fit all the way to the far right side. But here's the data that I have for the Rams offense that I have plays labeled for. Under center, 59 runs, 19 passes. So those under center plays are generally compressed formations like I referred to in the first preview video. Shotgun, not pistol. Shotgun, 82 passes and 5 runs. Yes, you heard that correct. That's the same data that I saw in their game Week 14 against the Ravens in terms of a percentage breakdown. I'll give that to you here. And then you're welcome to do the percentages in a calculator or in your head if you wish. Against the Ravens, the Rams under center were 28 runs and 9 passes. And then shotgun was 32 passes and 2 runs. Absolutely in line with the overall data that I gave you for the plays that I had enough time to categorize and then organize in the manner that you see up there. I wanted to present it in this preview, actually in the other one as well, so that people knew or at least gained some knowledge or awareness of the fact that I'm not making the data up. I'm certainly not capable of tracking all of the data for every team throughout the season. So what I have for every game is I have the first half, totally tracked and labeled for the Rams game against the Browns, Ravens, and both of their games against the Cardinals. And then against the Giants in Week 17, I have just the first half labeled. So you're welcome to let me know what you think in the comment section of the data that I presented there. I think that what you see on screen is totally in line with the shotgun data that I referenced a moment ago, 82 passes and 5 runs. The Lions' job will be to put the Rams and Matt Stafford in those positions where they know it's a known passing down, and now Aaron Glenn has hopefully his full coverage cabinet or cupboard available to call and throw at Matt Stafford. The 3 times that I have seen Aaron Glenn use this one recently has been early in the game. I think this is 3rd or 4th possession against the Broncos at home in Week 15. You can see it's a double corner blitz. Cam Sutton and Kendall Vildor are blitzing off the edge. Vildor gets a free blindside hit on the quarterback, Russell Wilson, creating what was nearly a fumble or forced fumble or strip sack, if you will. You can see that it's also an 8-man front. I'm not sure that this is exactly what the Lions are going to play against the Rams, but I do think that with the Rams' propensity to leave the play side corner unblocked on some of these early rundowns, particularly in the first quarter, you may see the Lions come out and bring both corners. It's kind of similar to something that's been around for, I guess, about 70 years, Okie dog pinch. Out of the 3-4, really, where you're bringing the corners off the edge and basically filling every gap on the inside with the interior linemen. So, if there's any kind of leakage out into the flats by an interior receiver or tight end, your linebackers and or nickel defender, which you see it is Brian Branch down to the bottom side, have got to match that because the corners are blitzing off the edge. High risk, don't get me wrong, but it's one of those things that you do on rundowns to try to limit the first down run, put people in 2nd and 10, 2nd and 12, and or perhaps get a sack on a play action concept. Doesn't always work out great. I think Derek Barnes may be responsible for the tight end here, but I'm not entirely sure. Huge hit by Jack Campbell on Oliver out into the flats. This is early in the game against the Vikings last week at home. And you can see once again that you've got Vildor, who's now on the left side, and Sutton on the right side, both stepping across No one takes the tight end. It's 21 personnel for the Vikings, so a true fullback in the backfield, and then Oliver in motion left to right across. The Rams use a lot of motion from right to left to right at a compressed formation, so you may see some similar stuff to this. The Lions, I think, would have to be better about, if they are running these stunts, the edge player and or inside linebacker knowing or recognizing, I've got to deal with that guy running out into the flats because the corners are on a hard-coded blitz. I do think with the compressed formations that the Rams run, you do see a lot of NFL defenses kind of frozen, if you will, meaning not running that many stunts because every play concept that the Rams run, whether it's run or pass, pretty much looks the same in the 1.2 to 1.5 seconds after the ball is snapped. They're doing a great job of elongating the conflict that defenses are put in because everything looks similar, whether it's a run to the right or the left or a play action pass. Before we give you a few of the more exotic or creative blitzes that I think Aaron Glenn will use in this game, let me give you a couple situations I think they should avoid, or a couple of schematic options they should stay away from. This is a third and I believe fourth down against the New Orleans Saints in the Lions win on the road down in New Orleans, where they chose to bring heavy pressure against Jameis Winston and play straight man. Now, granted, you've got somewhat better talent on the field now from a coverage standpoint. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Ifeatu Melifonwu. At this point, Jerry Jacobs is not playing. We all know he had his struggles at times. Even Jalen Reeves-Maybin, I think, is a guy who plays better in coverage in some of these situations. But these straight man situations where you really don't have any help at all. I mean, there is a safety in the middle of the field, don't get me wrong, but you got straight man all the way across the board. I'm not sure that with Matthew Stafford's quick release, giving him these looks, unless it's going to be something that he hasn't seen yet on film, unless it's going to originate from a different platform or a different place, I don't think that these are the types of blitzes that the Lions want to run and the situations they want to put their DBs and their secondary guys in. Even though I think their safeties are a key part of the outcome Sunday night, Branch, Melifonwu, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Kirby Joseph is all guys who can play and make plays. Kirby Joseph being more of a middle-of-the-field free safety. In my opinion, those two coverage concepts that you saw there are the ones that I would say that Aaron Glenn should avoid as much as possible, unless it's a high-risk situation and the need arises and they've got to go to it. I would keep those things for limited use, and when I say limited use, I mean maybe 2 or 3 times during the game. All right, let's get a look at some of the blitzes that they have used, especially in rundowns. This is first possession against the Broncos at home in Week 15. Melifonwu is going to blitz off the edge. You've got to get the Rams into play action. Now, you can see that it's 2nd and 10 from the top side. They did stop a run play on the 1st and 10 to create that situation. If you don't stop the first down run plays, some of these creative, exotic, whatever you want to call them, blitzes where you put an athlete with a great burst like Melifonwu in position to go after the bootleg, you can't do that if it's 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 5. So on some level, like I said, in the lead-in, you got to defeat blocks and you got to make tackles, especially in space, to try to put the Rams offense in disadvantageous positions for them. Obviously not a compressed formation. This is 11 personnel by the Vikings. But it's another example of a DB blitz. Now, this one happens to be Brian Branch, who the difficulty with determining what to do with Brian Branch on each play is that, number one, he's a great blitzer. He's a great finisher when he gets to the quarterback. He's up here into the quads. Now, it's not a true 11 personnel. That's a fullback. So there's no threat in terms of giving that guy the football. That does not exist with the Rams. They're an 11 personnel team 99% of the time, maybe 97% of the time, that is going to put a true athlete that's a threat out there on every snap at running back. Branch is a finisher, meaning he gets to quarterbacks, dislodges the football. There's a real impact when he's able to get a free run on a quarterback. Just so you know, and I think I mentioned this earlier, not showing any film from the Lions' loss against Dallas down there. All of my videos that utilize Cowboys and Lions film got copyright claimed a couple of weeks ago, so I'll avoid that. Another example of a nickel blitz, but this is not what you can expect to see the Rams in on 1st and 10. You have to put Matt Stafford and those guys in this position to where they have to throw the football on 2nd and 9, and you can get a shot on the quarterback, a free shot from a nickel blitzer. End zone angle, same play. Branches off screen to our right. You can see what I mean. When he hits people, there's a huge impact possibility for the ball coming out early, getting popped up in the air like you see here, potentially defenders being able to settle under it. But the problem is he's a great coverage guy as well. I know he's got a number of penalties this year, particularly on third down. Switching it up, there's a little bit of a giveaway here, if you ask me, in Branch's depth. He's going to roll back to too high safety. Joseph's going to roll, and then delayed blitz by Melifonwu. If you're a Rams fan, you've watched this long, first of all, thank you. Second of all, this is what you see a lot out of lately in terms of number 6, Ifeatu Melifonwu. A delayed blitz guy, a guy who, once he gets coming downhill, great burst, great closing speed. It's what I would call, let me back this up just slightly, what I would call really a 4-2 in terms of 4 under, 2 deep coverage. A little bit anomalous in the NFL. You're normally talking about, in terms of a cover 2 deep, 5 under, 4-man rush. You can see here you've got 5 rushers with Melifonwu being the 5th guy. So this is something that Aaron Glenn has done a lot more of recently. I think I've seen this 2 deep, 4 under coverage with a 5th, +1 rusher. I think I've seen it 6 times in the last 4 games. Sometimes it's not a blitz per se. It's a read. In this case, you got a play action and tight end trying to leak out into the right flats. And Hutchinson and Anzalone basically exchange roles. Let's say that it's a run concept to the other side with a play action boot off of it. Sometimes you could do it like that with the D end running down the line and then the inside linebacker scraping off of it. The first play that I showed you, the first 2 plays I showed you in this cut up in this video today had the corners blitzing off the edge. In that boot situation, theoretically that corner could get to him. Watch how the Lions accomplish this in their road win 41-38 against the Chargers out in Los Angeles. Hutchinson stays out here, and then Anzalone goes and inserts into that wide open space to get the quarterback pressure. Quarterback hit, in fact, after Hutchinson has released the tight end. Ball ends up being overthrown. Kirby Joseph with a brilliant interception along the sideline. So sometimes it's not a blitz, a call blitz by the coach. It's just read and react, or some would say a read blitz, in this case by the inside linebacker Anzalone, who sees that the ball isn't handed off. Quarterback's got it, and he can go get the quarterback because there's a wide open lane. A lot of film from the Vikings, obviously because they've played them 2 out of the last 3 weeks. When you see Melifonwu lined up into the boundary Sunday night, just know there's a high probability that he's going to be used as a blitzer and or covering the running back. I think if the Lions can get the Rams into these passing situations, it might be best for the Lions to get their dime personnel on the field. Dime personnel would mean 2 outside corners, Sutton and Vildor to this point, Branch as the nickel safety, Melifonwu, the 4th DB, Kirby Joseph, number 31, the free safety, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson somewhere in there. The only way they can get that accomplished is if they utilize Derek Barnes as an edge defender and or take Jack Campbell off the field. Numbers-wise, they're not going to take Alex Anzalone off the field. Providing some of that, Barnes provides to me more versatility than some of these other guys in passing situations. Melifonwu does as well. This is a patented stunt that they use, bringing 2 guys, from the same side. In this case, the running back, I think Madison for the Vikings, steps away from the protection for whatever reason. I think he read Reeves-Maben on the blitz. Another 11 personnel situation against the Vikings on the road, week 16. And Anzalone is blitzing off the edge. This is the game-sealing interception. So not a safety blitz, but I think that if the Lions are able to stop or slow down the run and then get Stafford into these, and Stafford's obviously a much higher level quarterback than we're observing film of here, get him into these situations where it's a known pass play, then the Lions can be a little bit more creative and utilize Derek Barnes, to the boundary to drop out. I think you've got some kind of mix-up here between these two. Somebody needs to be in a hook-to-curl area in this space. Mullins is unable to get rid of the ball quickly to the tight end, who's not running a route that would be a 3-step route, meaning he's not looking hot to fit into that space, so he's not making himself available for the football anyway. Poor throw by Mullins, and Melifonwu with the game-sealing interception. I've mentioned Derek Barnes a couple of times, even in the lengthy first preview that I did about this game, so let me cover a couple of elements here about why I think he's an impact player this game, someone who could be a big factor. First of all, he provides versatility if he's playing outside linebacker. When I say outside linebacker, I mean typical outside linebacker on the line of scrimmage, what most people refer to as an edge defender at this point. He provides the versatility to drop out in coverage. Since the Rams play so much 11 personnel, all 11 personnel, they could be under center, compressed formation, like I've talked about ad nauseum at this point, or at any point they could come out in the typical shotgun and line up with 3 receivers spread out wide. So the Lions have to make adjustments based upon the formation that the Rams line up in. The Rams are a huddle team, so they're going to huddle, come up to the line of scrimmage with a certain amount of time for the Lions to be able to make an adjustment. The adjustments are going to have to happen quick. Just so you know, Barnes is up here. Anzalone, playing typical inside linebacker, is going to be your 4th blitzer. He's the first guy through. And then the second guy through is Melifonwu. Barnes and Romeo Okwara are dropping out. Okwara from the boundary. You can see you've got 3 deep, 3 under delineation from the coverage. Melifonwu and Anzalone both get up to the quarterback. Cam Sutton gets his first interception of the year. So when I advocate for Barnes to be used, what I'm saying is give the defense the versatility to such that if the Rams come out in a, quote, passing formation, passing alignment, he can drop into coverage as the 6th or perhaps 7th or even 8th dropper, depending on what Aaron Glenn and the defensive captains want the Lions to do based upon the situation and field position. If you get a typical run formation under center, 11 personnel for the Rams is heavy run. I covered that in the lead-in. I gave you guys the data, 59 runs and 19 passes. Derek Barnes is perfectly suited to play at the point of attack or away from the point of attack as the guy who runs down the line of scrimmage and chases the running back from behind. You may say, well, Coach, he's leaving the boot wide open here. I agree, but I think Barnes is a guy who is able to see things and then react to it. I have yet to see him at edge defender get outflanked by a quarterback on boot, but certainly if you're Sean McVay and the offensive staff for the Rams and the backside outside linebacker / DN crashes downhill and run away and makes the tackle in a violent fashion like Derek Barnes did there, and like he's getting ready to do here on this rep, then bootleg is going to be something that's coming up. He provides the versatility that's needed for all of the situations that the Rams can put people in, all of the conflict that they can create, on 1st and 2nd down. On 3rd down, perhaps Barnes is off the field and you want a true pass rush guy out there. I think in a perfect world, James Houston, the 4th, would be available. You got a lot going on here. Potential give to the running back, which is what happens. Additionally, RPO read. I think Daryl Johnston covered it well. The tight end, H-back, is slipping out into the flats. Not exactly the same type of concepts that the Rams use in terms of a post-snap read by the quarterback in the shotgun, because most of what Matt Stafford does out of Sean McVay's offense is called give or called keep. I don't think this is the alignment that the Lions want to be in when Anzalone, Campbell, and Barnes are on the field. Now, first of all, they won't be, because the Rams won't be in 12 personnel. So I don't think you'll see this, quote, 4-3 overlook against the Rams offense at all. I want to add this play in as a way to talk about Derek Barnes' versatility and how he can be part of a comprehensive game plan that attacks the compressed formations that the Rams will use. This one is kind of how not to do it. From the standpoint of once the tight end motion's over, I think that Derek Barnes should immediately slide down here and get in the face of this receiver and basically be as physical as possible, keep his outside arm free, so that on this pin-pull concept, he's able to attack this blocker here in this area, as opposed to where he ends up taking on this pulling lineman 4 to 4.5 yards downfield. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. I feel like this play illustrates when you're not physical with these receivers, you're kind of giving the Rams free releases. Most people talk about free releases for receivers in the passing game. This is one that's a free release in the run game, allowing this tackle to loop around the toss play doesn't end up getting much. I think it's Jamal Williams, to be honest with you. You can't do this if you, you're in better position to do this with a player like a Derek Barnes who can play inside linebacker here or walk up and play outside linebacker, in this case, from a wide alignment in the wide receiver's face or on an outside leverage from him. So let me use a play from the Rams game against the Ravens to illustrate this. Now, it's slightly different because you're talking about two receivers down here to the bottom side of the screen, or the offense is left and not one. Still a compressed formation. There you have the top of the numbers. This receiver is further than halfway from the top of the numbers to the hash. This receiver and tight end happens to be a little bit outside of halfway from the top of the numbers to the hash, only because the ball is on the right hash. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. So I'm not saying that Kyle Van Noy should be in the face of Cooper Kupp. I'm saying that Kyle Hamilton should be. Because what happens here, and this is what's going to happen all game long, if you're not getting hands on receivers and or tackles, watch what the left tackle does in terms of getting up to Roquan Smith. There is nothing that Roquan Smith or any inside linebacker can do when a left tackle who's athletic enough and has leverage and outweighs you, number one, is able to work up to you unblocked. You got the kick out block by the tight end. You got Hamilton, who's now taking on the receiver. I don't know that you can play the Rams offense the same way that most edge defenders and most outside linebackers, DNs, whatever you want to call them, play 80% of the snaps in the NFL. If you're going to be in a wide alignment and you're going to give free releases to receivers, like I showed you on the pinpole toss against the Saints, and in this case, the tackle on the play against the Ravens, then these are the types of outcomes that are going to be there, and it's going to keep the Rams on schedule. I think Derek Barnes is a guy who gives the Lions the versatility to move from one front to another on every snap, because the Rams aren't going to sub personnel groups. They're going to be 11 personnel all game, and you're not going to have a, quote, tell before they before they get to the formation, before they get to the line of scrimmage, about what type of play it could be. I want to take a moment to explain where I think the Lions coaching staff made the decision to be more blitz heavy later in the season. I think it's because there was such a prolonged period of time where they were not getting to the quarterback. Had a number of sacks really in 3 games in 2023 that kind of makes their 41 sacks overall look better than it really is. As an aside, the Rams and the Lions each only have 41 sacks. Bottom 10 number in the league, I think tied for 10th least across the NFL. Additionally, the Lions have given up 4,500 passing yards, a little bit more than that actually, which is the 4th highest number across the NFL. I think that the coaching staff went to a more blitz-heavy look because there was a period of time where they weren't getting to the quarterback for whatever reason. Aiden Hutchinson wasn't finishing plays, wasn't finishing off sacks. We now know he has 11.5 sacks, 5 in the last 2 weeks. Additionally, there was a period of time where Aleem McNeil was out. He's a devastating player at defensive tackle, and in my opinion, could be a huge factor for this Lions defense, a multiplying factor because of his ability to get to the quarterback in situations where it's not a known run pass down. You may disagree with me because of the Lions' weakness towards allowing a lot of passing yards and say, well, Coach, I don't think we want Matt Stafford throwing the ball 38, 40 times. I think Aaron Glenn's job is to remove certain play calls from Sean McVay's play sheet by either stopping or at least slowing down the run game such that certain calls are removed from him as an option. And will Detroit be able to get to the quarterback in these generic or vanilla 4-man rushes against the Rams' offensive line consistently? I don't think so. I think you've got to create pressure from more safe blitzes, or more safe 4-man blitzes, I should say, that involve the use of a linebacker or a safety with someone like Derek Barnes dropping out, or in the case of Jack Campbell, a guy who I don't think should be playing edge defender, outside linebacker. I think he's better suited as an inside linebacker, but someone like that dropping out to give Matt Stafford a different look than he thinks he perceives pre-snap. In summary here, I think we're in for a heck of a football game. The Rams are clearly surging. They've won 7 of their last 8. The Lions get their first home playoff game in years, having won the division for the first time since 1993. I think this safety group, Branch, Melifonwu, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Kirby Joseph, and the cornerbacks to a lesser extent have to be used at some point in the blitz game, whether it's to blitz to stop the run or blitz to create pressure on Matt Stafford. Screens, any irregular plays. I would say jet sweep is an irregular play at this point. Even though the Rams use jet motion on damn near every play, between Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, they only have 13 carries in the 2023 regular season. So it's less than one time per game where they're actually giving those guys the football. And in fact, sometimes running jet sweep as an individual player 30, 35 times a game can be something that drains your stamina. And that's why you see those guys sometimes running that motion at 80%, not really giving a ball fake at all. They'll actually veer off behind the quarterback to get out of the way of any potential handoff because they're running slower and they should already be through, as opposed to potentially being in the way for a mesh or play action fake between the quarterback and the running back. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. Look, turnovers is always going to be a determining factor, and in the games where the Lions have had trouble during their 2-2 stretch before they won 2 out of 3 games to finish the regular season, I'm talking about their games against the Bears and the Packers and the Saints, they turned the football over. They had a trouble with turnovers for that period of time. If they're able to avoid turnovers offensively and put up 24-plus points, I firmly believe all they've got to do is figure out a way to get 5 organic stops plus perhaps 1 turnover, or 4 organic stops and force 2 turnovers, which I think is going to be a tall order in a typical 10-11 possession football game. With both of these teams' propensity and tendency to run the football so much, I do think there's a possibility here we're looking at a 9-possession football game, meaning each team possesses the ball 9 times or has 9 drives. I don't really count late second quarter situations where a team takes a knee in the last 30 seconds as a possession. I'm not sure that those things should be counted as possessions when we talk about the game, but certainly statistically they should. I don't like to give predictions on games, but if Detroit is able to be +1 in the turnover margin, and they can get 5 stops, I think they've got a great chance to win this football game. If it's equal in turnovers and neither one of them results in a defensive touchdown, then Detroit only getting 4 stops, I think, makes it really difficult for them, meaning it's more than a 50-50 proposition that the Rams have a great chance to win the football game if neither team turns the football over, or if it's 1-to-1 turnovers. I know that people want better predictions than that. I don't think I'm very good at predictions, so that's one of the reasons why I don't do them, number one. Number two, I think it all depends on the strategy that's utilized. Aaron Glenn and those guys have to be multiple on defense. They have to give Matt Stafford and Sean McVay multiple looks to get them off schedule or off pace, if you will, from their play call sheet, and put them in as many 2nd and 8s, 3rd and 5s as possible, so that every second play call of a drive isn't an easy run play to get a first down or a play action to really put the defense in conflict because it's 2nd and 4 and they're trying not to give up the first down. Let me know what you guys think of the 2 previews I was able to put together. Hopefully the Lions win and I can get to do 2 previews like this next week, or multiple previews for teams, and the Ravens and the Lions. I appreciate you guys' time. If you enjoyed the preview, please let me know in the comments section, number 1. And number 2, please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it somewhere out on social media so other Lions fans can enjoy it as well.